From I told you we are going to have our guest today through the African lens integration race is going to talk about. Remember Dominic Otiang'a all the way from Busia County. Yes, all the way in Kenya. He has to introduce himself later on. Remember, he's a writer based in Stuttgart City. He has written so many books which he's going to talk about. And today we're going to only discuss something related to do with the race integration here in Germany. When you're living in another man's land, they always say like that. Yes, what are the challenges do you expect there, the race and everything like that? So to me, myself and I, if I have to define race, the relationship between members or communities of different races within one community. Maybe he shall give us another formation of the definition of race. I don't know. Integration, the action or process of successfully joining or mixing with the different groups of cultures or different groups of people here in the land of Germany. But let's talk about integration, or let's talk about race. If I have to invite my guest today, Dominic Otiang'a, all the way from Kenya. Yes, he's talking to us today about grace. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
Good.
Welcome to Radio R today.
Nice to be home. Feels like in Africa now.
Okay.
With the music around there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Remember, Radio R, it's your home of African music. All the way, yes, you have traveled all the way from Superdelegates, I guess.
Yeah, to Superdelegates. It doesn't feel like I needed a visa.
Okay. No, I'm just saying it because now it's being a risk to travel. You're being told to use, not to use traffic means. We used to use personal cars. If we don't have, I don't know. Actually, I've got a message today morning being told that I should be using a private car to work. So if I don't have a car, what do I do? That's why I'm just asking you. You're just coming from Superdelegates. You know, there's so many things.
Yeah, I mean, we have issue with Corona. Yeah, the virus is actually some people died yesterday. I think about 9. Total number to more than 20 in Germany alone. No, about 2 in Germany. But the infection was more than 20, about 130 in Germany alone.
Sure.
Yeah, so we are also not far from Italy. Is most affected area in Europe. We should be taking care. I actually spend most of my time washing my hands outside there.
You know, the other thing is in the studio we don't have any disinfectant.
You have to have that.
A fan of today told me today it's called Dettol. Yeah, but we are going to have something to do with the dental or to take care of our hands. And today morning we realized that the health minister Nadine Doris tests positive coronavirus. So it means corona. It doesn't have to know. Who are you?
No
class.
Yeah, by the way, Nadine is if you say Nadine, health minister, you know, somebody might assume you're talking about Germany.
Okay, Nadine is the health minister in UK. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, that's the UK health minister. She was also affected. We know that in Iran, there are also politicians who are affected. And so it doesn't choose class.
It doesn't choose class. It doesn't know whether you are poor or rich.
Poor or rich, or whether you're black or white, Korean or African. Actually, we should be taking care of ourselves as Africans. I heard some people saying, "Oh, we are Africans; it doesn't affect us." Yeah.
Okay. So what makes us different? You know,
no, I don't think at this moment we have to respect science. Yeah. We have to respect science, and until science tells us that as Africans we can't be affected because of this and that and that, then we can take it. But maybe other races also can, or other people outside Africa can also say, okay, what is that Africans have that helps them avoid it, so that we can also work on that.
Yeah, but we are seeing cases too in Africa. Not many.
Yeah, we hear cases in Africa. Heard of a death in Egypt, which is also in Africa, but it was a German guy who died in Egypt. We also had cases in places like Senegal, in Nigeria, where an Italian was affected there. Yeah, so some people use that to say, so far there is in Africa, but they are not Africans. Yeah.
Sure.
So the question is, who is African?
who is African. And that brings us to the top of our story today, through the African lens. Yes, integration and race. Yes, I defined the race there before, being a relationship between members or communities of different races.
Yeah. You know, the issue of race, I also find it sometimes problematic to talk about race. Of course, people want to identify others by anything. I can say the guy with the long hair, the guy with short hair, the short guy, the tall guy.
Yeah.
But then in this case, somebody want to say, yeah, he's black. Even if you are dark brown or you look like Obama, it makes it easy for them.
Yeah, sure.
But so race is a very complex thing to define. Scientifically, people also have had difficulties in defining it. Somebody want to call it negroid to mean an African, caucasoid to mean people living with pale skin around Europe. Yeah, so they are trying to come up with scientific terms, but it's actually very complex thing. Even if you want to label all Africans as one, as a race, you still have issues with defining race. So the issue of racism, when it comes in, then you only have class issues. Yeah, so this, when you look at it as class issues, then you see it as something that is universal. For instance, I'll be in South Africa, somebody would call me Makwerekwere, Makwerekwere. but it would be difficult for this guy to call a white guy Makwerekwere. They don't do that. Yeah, so you see, a guy being banned in another country, in South Africa, for mistake of being a Zimbabwean. Yeah?
Sure.
When in Germany now these class issues come in, people try to link you to your economic status. So just because there's a generalization of Africa as a poor place, then you emerge here as could be a millionaire or a billionaire like Oprah Winfrey, who was actually experienced that in Switzerland when going to buy an expensive bag. Yeah. So they just look at that generalization of a class, but race is now linking you to a specific place, location, where now there's this assumption of a low economic class. Yeah. So they generalize that, and if you look at it that way, then you will also look at it being replicating itself in Africa, where now I would go to a hotel. Actually, it happened to me. A hotel in Kenya.
Okay.
And I'm
in Kenya, and it's your man's land. It's where you were born.
Yeah. I'm there with the German
Stadtmeier.
It was that time. It was that time, but. There were also some other Germans with me there, and I was the only guy actually who needed a visa to travel to an African country, not Kenya, but the visa was for Congo. Okay. The rest of the people had to travel just freely like that. It was really weird that I had to go to a Congolese embassy in Berlin.
To get a visa?
Yeah, but to remain on race, this is the moment where somebody would treat me as if I don't belong to that 5-star hotel.
Sure.
Yeah. In the same way, I'll be treated in Germany as if I don't belong to that 5-star hotel. So on the other side, there's this subconscious mind that tells the people now in Africa that this guy could be the guy who's not supposed to be here. The guy who may be doing milk delivery or something like that. Something like that. So if we look at it in the lens of class, then we can probably work towards solving it. But if we look at it in the lens of the outlook, the color, then we will be blaming the whites.
The whites, yeah.
For certain issues,
and
the more we do that, we'll be working like hackers, computer hackers. You're hacking a system, and the people are improving the system. So if you blame a specific representation of a race, then you're also helping them to improve the awareness. Yeah? But what about yourself? Yeah. What about yourself? So it's a big issue here, where you put all the people in one basket and then hang them.
I'm telling you, you want to join the conversation, actually, you can use our telephone number, studio number 071164 00444, or you go to our Facebook page and radiolisten.de /Stuttgart. You can get us live on 99.2 FM. Remember, we are talking to Dominic Otiang'a all the way from Kenya. He's a writer and novelist. Yes, he has been talking here about race and integration. And Dominic, coming to this, do you think there is this race in Germany, or rather being looked as black or white, or this racism about culture differences or religion?
Whether it exists?
Whether it exists?
Yeah. Actually, it's always an unfair question to ask somebody. For instance, have you ever experienced racism? I always find that question unfair, and whether the person will say yes or no doesn't really bring up the truth, the reality. Yeah, because some people, it also needs some consciousness to know that you've experienced racism.
Sure.
Somebody would face you with a smile, but still turn out to be racist. You won't know that. You go home, say, yeah, this happened, they were nice, but you can't see that. If you watch a documentary by Gunther Wallraff, Schwarz auf Weiß, this guy is a detective journalist, who would do makeup and look, claiming to look like African, but actually I couldn't locate the outlook to match it to any African, because the hair was, he looked more like, okay, let's say he looked different from Germans. From Germans, from native Germans. You know, you can be black and be German.
Be German too, yeah.
You can be, look like a Chinese or German. Yeah, but if you watch this documentary, you will realize that there are places where this guy would go to with his colleague, who would now be working as if they are not together, and at some point they realize that he's treated differently with a smile. One case of going to look for a house, and the lady, the landlady greets him, and they are very happy, they talk, they smile, and then he walks out and his colleagues walking, pretending they were not together with Gunther Wallraff.
Okay.
And they realized that even Gunther Wallraff was not shown all the rooms in that place. And then they start talking, and the lady asked Gunther Wallraff, asked the landlady, what did this guy, now the Gunther Wallraff, what did this African was he also looking for a house? Yeah, this guy was looking for a house, but you know, the darker there was, he actually used the German phrase, the dunkler, desto schlimmer.
They always say that.
But with all those smiles, there's no way the guy, Gunther Wallraff, if he were alone, let's say, assuming he was an African or a Chinese or Taiwanese, other person, assuming he was that, and they was actually looking for the house, there's no way this guy would have known that he has experienced racism. Sure. So that, because of that, I always feel like, you cannot say that you haven't experienced and therefore it doesn't exist.
And turning from this race, you know, sometimes I always don't differentiate between the culture clash, the culture clash and race, because if I have to, maybe the culture that I expect the Germans to be using, or the whites to be using on blacks, or the blacks that they are expecting from the whites, it's not something that is coming. Many people come from all over the world, from Syria, Afghanistan, Africa, everywhere. And they always try to, they are in Germany, but they always want to see that the Germans should adapt to fit into them, which is actually not the way to go. So do you think this culture crash has something to do with it?
Yeah, okay, when we talk about culture clash, okay, there are moments when you come from home, and there are things, the way you do things are different, and when you go to a different location, let's say in Germany, then you realize that you are experiencing, maybe you don't fit in, but actually probably the way you do your things is actually way better. There's always an explanation. Sure. When we come here, for instance, we talk about we Africans don't leave our parents in, like here they leave them in homes, in the home of the age. This is not our culture, and them they do that. But then if you have to sit down and start asking questions, is this culture, where did this culture come from? And can we avoid it? So for instance, somebody comes from, let's say in Siaya or somewhere in Mtopanga, deep inside
Kenya.
In Kenya, or somewhere in Cameroon, Bamenda in Cameroon probably. You have your grandparents living somewhere, and they have relatives around them who are living together with them. Sure. But then if you ask this person, what would happen if all these relatives living with the grandparents, they were having modern beruf professions. So somebody is an IT expert. Somebody is a DJ, is a radio presenter. Are they going to stay at that place in the village
to look for your grandparents?
Then you realize that actually it's not possible. Actually, it's the way of looking for bread and butter in the West, that makes this culture go this way. So it is actually, at the end, you realize it's capitalism that is leading this way. For us to avoid that, probably we would have to also try to avoid capitalism, maybe market economy or other way. But, and so the part of culture clash can only occur if you become a bit assertive with your worldview. So, for instance, the Arabs, there's how they do things on the way, and they feel they feel comfortable with that. So when they come to that with that culture in such a place like here, or go with that culture to a place like US or an African country where they're not a lot, then the other culture, if it is actually also stronger, then they begin to clash. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a very positive thing, because if I know how you live and you don't know how I live, then there's no way you're going to gain from me. I'm going to be better off than you in terms of being socially awareness and being socially competent or intellectually competent, because then I know two things. But if I'm become a little more assertive of my worldview, my culture, then you're also going to learn something from me. And so you shouldn't see the clash as something negative. It exists. It doesn't exist where people come here and they actually change all of a sudden. They become German. They do things the German way. And there's no way Germans can learn from us if we just come here and all of a sudden we are Germans.
You being a writer, and you have already wrote so many books which you are going to tell us about actually. Do you believe that language is a necessity for integration within a culture?
For integration, actually, language is a necessity. And actually, language is also, it can also lead to assimilation. If you are weak in your language, then you are just going to be consumed by the other culture that is stronger, because language and culture go in tandem. They are always together. If you learn German, you're also going to learn why do they say auf Wiedersehen, or there are words they use in Bayern, why do they have to say Grüß Gott, things like that. Sure. So you're also going to learn the culture. You're also going to learn the culture. But the part of language, it's very important. So it's also, just like it's important for us to learn the language of a place we live in, because it helps us to also compete with the people there, to work together with them. It also gives us a sense of belonging. We belong to Africa, and therefore if we lose that part, we are going to lose. We're going to become somebody else, and maybe the advantages we would have had we retained our language just disappear, because now we're just Germans.
Well, remember, ladies and gentlemen, listening to us from, remember, it's 99.2 FM, your home of African music.
Real World presents.
Taking you on a music journey around Africa and the world.
The station with the best music.